Hello again, everyone, and welcome back to Reddit Aliens. I am John. As always, thank you so much for being here. A good topic for you today. Let's do it. When was a time that you almost died? Please remember to like, share, hype, comment, listen and ask for shoutouts, and subscribe. My appendix exploded while I was pregnant, and I had to have emergency surgery. The infection spread very fast and I was very ill. I ended up on 2 different antibiotics and fought off a horribly high fever for 3 days. My digestive system shut down and I was unable to eat anything for 2 weeks. The antibiotics caused my skin to peel too, and I developed a horrible yeast infection on top of everything because of them. I had to get an NG tube and a PICC line. I became very weak and I couldn't walk, and I suffered from severe dehydration despite being on IV fluids. They just couldn't figure it out. Somehow, though, I recovered. The baby also survived. The surgeon told me, "You nearly died. I want you to know you survived a major event. This was way more serious than just having appendicitis." Got hit by a speeding, drunk, drugged driver. I was on a bicycle. I have no knowledge of the impact. My last memory was thinking that the approaching car sounded fast. It was behind me. I came to, sat up, bike wrecked, surrounded by people who had dragged me off the road, police and paramedics. It was all very strange. Apparently, I was very confused and kept repeating myself. Sustained a head injury. Would have been worse without a cycling helmet. Broken ribs, lots of cuts, bruises, and grazes. Left a lot of skin on the road. Took a long time to heal. Still have issues with the head injury, but still here. I got sepsis and was dehydrated. I felt like fine besides the big cyst in my chest. My doctor said, "Go to the emergency room." I did, and after the surgery to remove the cyst, I woke up in the ICU and was told I nearly died. Doctor malpractice. When I was 3 weeks old, my PDA and a heart didn't close like it should have. Doctors went in to suture it closed and instead sutured my left pulmonary artery, and I lost blood flow in my left lung because of it. The mistake wasn't noticed for 3 days. A long 3.5 to 4 months for my parents and brother, but I'm 26, almost 27 years old, and doing as well as I could be. I took Ambien when I was overseas in Spain, not having been prescribed it, but given it to me by a friend to help with the 14-hour time difference. Turns out, Ambien has an extraordinary dissociative effect on me, and it's essentially an allergy to it. I went out on my 4th floor balcony at 1:30 a.m. after arriving at the hotel, took it, 30 minutes later, thought this wasn't working, and in the course of the next hour took 2 more. I was already looped on the first one. I stepped onto to go over a patio chair, blocking the exit onto the balcony instead of just pushing it aside, and toppled over the rail. I grabbed the rail as I was falling, which made my body fall under me, preventing a head-first fall. I fell 3 stories into a concrete planter and broke my pelvis in 5 places. I'm fine now. A few months in a wheelchair, then crutches, but no surgery. My femur crunched the socket, but not in a way where it needed pins or plates. That was 14 years ago. And there probably has not been a week that has gone by since when I haven't realized that there were 100 ways I could have ended up with a traumatic brain injury, partially or fully paralyzed, or dead, 1,000 ways. I'm a very, very lucky man. It's not lost on me that I am essentially playing with house money now, and I try and live that way. Afghanistan, 2008-09, Royal Marine Commando. Drove over an IED, didn't go off. Stepped on a mine, didn't go off. Multiple firefights and rockets fired at me, was dragging a wounded Marine off a roof under fire. Lucky to be here, really. Was hiking with my husband off trail, I know, stupid, and leaned over to find our trail down. Ground fell out from under me, and I reached to grab onto a branch, but it broke. Went sliding down the side of the mountain on my butt and could not stop or slow down. Eventually I came to the precipice of a drop, and I had absolutely no idea how far of a drop it was about to drop, though I was gonna die or be paralyzed. I slid over the edge, fell about 15 to 20 feet, and landed directly on my feet, instantly crumpled to the ground like a sack of potatoes. I feel like I kind of blacked out for a few seconds, but came to quickly because I heard my husband screaming my name. I didn't see blood spilled out, and I could feel my lower extremities, so I just got up, lol. My ankles felt and were swollen, but didn't seem broken. My left leg hurt, so I pulled up my pant leg and saw a huge hole that spurted blood. I thought it was broken, like an open fracture perhaps. I tried yelling up to my husband, but he couldn't hear me because we were near a waterfall. I was able to hike out to a main trail where I yelled for help, and some other hikers found me, called mountain rescue, and I was carried down the mountain to an ambulance. My husband was crying and couldn't believe I wasn't paralyzed or dying, lol. I declined the ride in the ambulance because it's expensive. We drove 2 hours to the hospital, got x-rays, and nothing was broken, just needed stitches for the hole in my leg, likely punctured by a stick or branch. Free falling and not knowing how far I was going to fall was the scariest moment of my life, and I got so lucky. I fell in the best way possible and was in super good shape, like thick thighs save lives, huh? I'm grateful I only needed stitches. I was super sore, I could barely walk. People die from falling off the roof of their house, and I basically walked away. Hey guys, reporting, well, not live to me, from my kitchen. About to head out to work, and hope you guys have a wonderful weekend, and I will see you soon and check in for shoutouts and all that over the weekend. Just a little rush this morning, so have a great day. I was 6 or 7, and swimming in a hotel pool with my cousins, and I stupidly went into the deep end and immediately started thrashing to keep my head above water, but I kept going under. It took 15 seconds for one of the adults to notice, and she reached down to pull me out. I stayed out of the pool the rest of the time. Technically, I died 4 times. CPR brought me back. All happened in the hospital, twice in the ER, twice in the ICU. I was unaware of it. Woke up a few days later and a nurse asked me if I knew what happened. When she told me, I was freaked out. She said I was the big news around the place. I had a gallstone blocking the passageway to my gallbladder. I literally felt like I was dying. After a few days of being unable to do anything or even keep a sip of water down, I went to the hospital just to find out my organs were actually shutting down and my gallbladder had developed gangrene. After emergency surgery, I had to be flushed with antibiotics for 4 days straight. I was told if I waited another hour, I would have died. My brother and I locked ourselves in an old ice box playing hide and seek with neighbor kids. The box was only able to open from the outside via the handle. We were about 5 and 7. Once inside, it was tight, and we didn't like it, but we could not open the door. Our mom was out on the porch sweeping when she heard us screaming way off in the distance. Then she remembered the old abandoned house, came and let us out. We were sweaty and hot as it was summer, but we done okay. That was a really close call. Another time I was drowning. I went too deep, and my stepmom came and saved me. Roommate misfired a gun into the kitchen while I was doing meal prep for the week. The oven door I was standing over exploded, and so did one of my glass storage containers. So I imagine the bullet ricocheted all around me in the kitchen, before it finally stopped. This was 6 years ago, and my hearing has never fully returned. I was in a kayaking incident about 3 years ago, where I remember being tumbled underwater and pulling my ankle out of some sort of entanglement with the flipped kayak, so that I could be released into the current and finally popped up out of the water a little further down. My back scratched over some metal bars that I didn't know about at the time, but are placed under the damn waterfall to break up trees and stuff that go over it. When I was 17, the grocery store I was working at was robbed while we were open. It was back in the day when the assignment manager would do a night drop with one of the card guys, and they were on a pretty regular schedule. They walked out, and these 3 guys approached them with guns, and the assistant manager tried to run back into the building, and they shot him 3 feet from where I was standing, turning in my drawer for the night, because my dad was in the parking lot waiting to pick me up. I looked right at the guy who shot him. I'd like to tell you that I ran to Bill's aid, but I was just so stunned because it wasn't like I had seen it on TV. Luckily, one of our regular customers jumped into action and tried to stop the bleeding. My dad ended up being a much better witness to the police because he was waiting for a good 20 minutes for me in the parking lot, and he took notice of these guys. The assistant manager lived, but he lost a kidney. I have a list. Unfortunately, that comes with the territory of being in a civil war. Paid the equivalent of $30 in US currency to not get a shotgun blast to the face when trying to enter the airport. Robber broke into the house, so me and my dog, GSD, had to fight him off as the police were unreliable. After which, I had attempted to cauterize myself, unsuccessfully, before going to a clinic to get it properly treated. Also, a couple of car crashes that I had to cause when I realized that the locks of the taxi equivalent service, not really an app, but more like I raised my hand in hopes for a cab, basically had their locks filed down. The old ones, where the lock was a knob, put a guy in a chokehold and the car crashed. I'm now an adult and in college, live a much more boring but safe life. Note that bribes were pretty common, and the car crashes weren't at high speeds, as I basically noticed them the moment the doors closed. So I guess I might not be close to death then. It's just technically a non-zero chance. Buckle up. It wasn't the stabbing nor the being run over by a speeding driver. It was part of my daily activities, swimming. I'm a trained swift water tech, have grown up surfing, and live on the largest island on the planet. New Year's Eve, many years ago, I was on a Christian camp near the beach. Weather was atrocious, and the surf was nuts. No person who had grown up around water was going in that day. So of course, someone who hadn't decided to go for a dip straight into what she thought was the calmest looking spot. Yep, ripped right out of there. Luckily, there was an off-duty lifeguard, Sam, as part of our group. But being New Year's Eve, the surf club was unmanned and no PFD available. Sam and I bolt in and start to swim out to her. I caught the rip intentionally and used it to bypass the never-ending, relentless sets that kept smashing Sam. Took me a little longer to get out of the rip than I would have preferred, and I cut out about 50 meters past her, while Sam just made it to her. When I reached them, Sam admitted he would have to act as second, as he was almost in need of rescue himself. This is a trained lifeguard, in peak physical fitness, and we had probably only traveled 150 meters. That's how shocking the power of this was. I took lead, and we started to try to steady her and catch what sets we could to get back in. It was going well until we got tumbled in quick succession. The sandstorm that was dredged up made it impossible to see, and we couldn't get up to catch a breath. While holding her hand, I just closed my eyes and swam my heart out, reaching with my other hand all the while to feel the surface. Well, I felt the surface all right, but it was the wrong one. I had led us to our death. With as much energy as I could muster, I pushed off the bottom with every bit of energy I could muster. I don't remember much afterwards. A few people saw it from 20 meters from the shore and managed to wade out to get to her. Thinking I was fine, they let me and focused on her. I was not fine. I got dumped from behind and pulled back out. I went unconscious. They found me 2 breaches and over a kilometer over, just lying in the sand. They all praised it as a miracle and saw it as God's greatness. Get effed. Don't F with nature, no matter how skilled you are. She's a magnificent, yet fickle beast. I was a farm kid, didn't know how to swim, was at my cousin's house and fell into the deep end of the pool. My cousin pulled me out, was messing around with my brother on top of a grain wagon loaded with corn. I fell backwards off it, and that was about 10 feet up. Fell on the ground right next to a field harrow, a steel implement pulled behind a plow with steel spikes sticking up. Got off the school bus when I was in 1st grade. My brother grabbed me and pulled me back just as a car passed the bus on the right. Would have been flattened like a pancake. That was just childhood. Car in the lane next to me decided to make a left turn while still in the right lane. Turned into the passenger side of my vehicle, which made it rotate clockwise. The metal median guardrail T-boned my driver door at 50 miles an hour. My vehicle did 2 misty flips in the air and landed on top of the median. I never wore a seatbelt in my life until approximately 1 month prior to that accident. I had just left the house to head to work. As I pulled away, I remembered to put on my seatbelt, clicked it on as I was driving away. Approximately 3 minutes later, I was flipping through the air. It was a summer day. All of my windows and sunroof were all the way down. I would have been violently ejected if I didn't remember that seatbelt just a few minutes prior. I felt the seatbelt holding me against the seat as I was flipping and twisting. When the other car made contact and my vehicle started to spin, the steering wheel got super light and I had zero control. I remember looking to my left and seeing the guardrail median coming right at me and thinking to myself, oh my God, I'm about to die. The sound of that impact woke me out of my sleep constantly for a couple of months. Wear your seatbelts, folks. When I was a few months old, I had a fever of 103, and I had to get a spinal tap. They didn't give me anesthesia, as they said I wouldn't remember it. My mom said it was by far the worst experience she's ever had in her life. Forced to hear her baby scream in pain and terror, and do nothing about it. I don't remember the incident, but I do have a lifelong phobia of needles and things going in under my skin like splinters. So I wonder if there's some kind of deep, primal memory going on there. Took a bunch of barbiturates in the late 60s when I was about 3 or 4, about 5 in the morning. My mom heard me moaning, all out of it on the kitchen floor, and called the cops because she said she knew they'd get me to the hospital faster than the ambulance. Pumped my stomach. Also got hit by a car when I was 5, running across a red light, broke my leg and sent me flying 18 feet. My poor 9-year-old watched the whole thing go down. OD'd a few other times in the early 2000s, so it's a hard call. Possible drunk or drugged driver, not sure. Anyways, hit the front of my car near the passenger tire. I didn't see it coming. I also was going from a stop at a red light to moving when it turned green. A few streets away from my house. If the person hit me a few inches over on the passenger side, I would have died, according to the doctor, due to the speed or force of the impact. I didn't have any injuries, aside from a big bruise from where the seatbelt caught me, and soreness.